Welcome to Talking Shop and SFX podcast. I am Kim Lonning, here again with our Chief Academic Officer,
Andy Schoenberg.
And today we are talking about the holiday classic, the Santa Claus.
The Sinterklaas.
The Santa Claus.
Topo Gijo.
For those that don't know, that is a clear reference that is in the movie. So this was a 1994 film directed by John Paskin. Did I say that correctly?
I believe so.
It's about a contract, a clause in a contract that makes Tim Allen Santa Claus. Another Amalgamated Dynamics Incorporated film. What did you do on the film, Andy?
I did a fair amount of sculpting. I sculpted Tim Allen's fat makeup. Mm-hmm. Fat makeups.
Because there's different stages as he is turning into Santa Claus as it gets closer to the holidays.
And I sculpted all of the prosthetic elf ears. Mm-hmm. Norman Cabrera sculpted all of the background ears.
Can you talk about like the different stages of, the Santa progression? What did production want to see? What did your bosses over at ADI want to see?
Well, it's funny because you think you have to design a Santa Claus makeup. Mm-hmm. It seems pretty cut and dried. Santa Claus, in its current form, mm-hmm. is a product of advertising. It was they refer to the red-suited Santa as the Coca-Cola Santa Claus, mm-hmm. Because he was developed by Coca-Cola's advertising agency. Within the parameters of the Coca-Cola Santa Claus, Tim Allen he had this vision for kind of a working-class Santa. Mm-hmm. So that's why I wanted to have the brush cut and that whole look to Santa initially. It's more about the hair than the fat mm-hmm. for that. But there was a pretty innovative thing that ADI did for the fat belly on that, mm-hmm. that I was charged with coming up with a paint formula that we could paint this. I've heard different stories about what it was made from. It was a hot melt material. A lot of times hot melt is vinyl, but I don't think this was vinyl. Someone said it was latex based, which I don't think it would melt if it was latex based. So I don't know, it was very nebulous, but we had this very expensive machine that melted all of the mm-hmm. vinyl. And then we just stood there like a person at a filling station, at a gas station, with the pump in the hole in the mold, loading it up with the gelatinous material that we made the belly out of. They wanted the belly to shake when it was smacked. It needed to be stable.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of different requirements for it there. They made a canvas undersuit for it because canvas doesn't stretch and distort. It had a zipper in the back, et cetera, et cetera.
So it was like essentially like a vest that Tim Allen would wear.
Yeah, it was more like a hospital gown. He'd go into the thing and then it got zipped up the back and he was in. I think one of the funniest comments that I heard was we did the cast and crew screening, mm-hmm. which had a couple of significant things there. One was that I took my kids with me and they were 7 and 9, I think, at the time. My youngest was 7, mm-hmm. still believed in Santa very much, of course.
Yeah.
When they get to the North Pole, the first time that Tim Allen goes there, and they land, and then the reindeer all magically sort of disappear and run off, and they're left there in the sleigh. Mm-hmm. And the theater is dead quiet, and my daughter's voice rises up out of the mist there and says, "How are they going to get out of there?"
How cute.
Yeah, and everybody in the theater cracked up. It was great.
Aww.
But as we're walking out,
mm-hmm.
this was a cast and crew screening, so I can only assume that it's someone who was part of the cast and crew, but it could have been a producer's friend or something, I guess.
Yeah.
We're walking behind them, and this woman says to her friend, they eat potatoes to put weight on like that. And I was like, you thought that was real? Really? Okay. I'll take that.
I'm like, hey, that's good. I was like, that wouldn't be, I know like actors like gain weight or lose weight for a film, but I was like, the way that it needed to progress quickly throughout filming, that's not possible.
Right. The first time that CGI was used in conjunction with makeup that I had worked on, mm-hmm. Was that film, and it was for the scene where he shaves his beard,
Mm-hmm.
and then it pops back on all very suddenly, and that was kind of fun seeing a mashup of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it all started by, it was shortly after the Northridge earthquake, and I got a call from Alec Gillis, and Alec said, "Hey, we're starting this movie, and we'd like to have you on it if you would like to come in."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "We're just getting the shop put back together after the earthquake, and if you want to come in and work on this thing in a corner somewhere, that'd be fine."
Yeah.
I said, "Sure." So I go in, and the live cast of Tim Allen, I think, had fallen off the shelf when the earthquake happened. The head broke off of the shoulders, and so we glued it all back together, and I patched up what needed to be patched and did a little plaster seaming job on the
Mm-hmm.
head. Then it was molded, and silicone and some masters pulled out to do sculptures on. Alec had a design thing in his head very clearly that I don't know how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And probably because I don't know how I felt about it now, I didn't know how I felt about it then.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you know how babies get that real meaty part of their forehead right here? I said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I think it'd be cool to have the forehead have this knob of fleshiness right there. And I went, really? And Alex said, yeah, just do that. I went, okay. So I didn't do it.
Yep.
And I didn't do it, and I didn't do it. And Alec mentioned it a few more times, and I didn't do it. So I came in after lunch one day, and Alec had taken my clay
And put it on.
and put it on. So I said, oh, that's how it's going to go then, huh?
Yeah.
I peeled it off very carefully and put it to the side and continued working on it. Alec came by and goes, hey, where'd my thing go? I'm like, I don't know if I can do that, Alec.
Do you know what his thought process behind like wanting that? Because did that end up ever making it into the makeup?
I don't believe it did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was it just about like kind of rounding out the face a bit more?
I think it was, yeah. It was to get the fat going and all the various aspects of the makeup. Like I did fat earlobes
Yeah.
for it. That is the source of a story that Mark Viniello tells to this day.
Yeah.
I did it all, the whole sculpture in white Roma,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually sort of cream-colored Roma, as you can imagine. It photographed nicely to show the producers and director, etc. So blocked it all out like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then cut it in various places before we throw it in water to float it. And then the clay floats off the earlobes, and I saved those off to the side because I knew that there would be a tendency among people to go, oh,
Yeah.
this clay needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
it's just
where did
trash.
it go?
It's just a small little piece of clay.
Right. I was checking up on the foam runs for the day on something,
Mm-hmm.
and I go into the foam room, and I've got this little blob of cream-colored clay that looks like cured foam latex,
Yeah.
and I set it on the counter while I'm telling a story.
Oh no.
And Mark Viniello picks it up, and I see his fingers are just starting to squish it. And in the middle of my story, without missing any of the story, I just go, don't squish that. And then I continued on with the story. And Mark was petrified. He was mortified that he could have ruined that piece. I said, oh, it would have taken 10 seconds to resculpt.
To fix, yeah. But to be fair, the instinct, even here, anytime like the students are running foam, I'm like, I pick it up, I'm like, squish. Because it's like,
yeah.
you want to squish the foam. It's a good feeling, and that's what you do.
I have this bad habit where I walk into the foam room, and the first thing I do is open a mold. And if you've got, like my friend Russell had a bunch of molds on the table that hadn't been strapped yet.
Oh, no.
And I picked it up at the top, and I went, oh, shit. And Russell he's from New York, and he's very, got that attitude.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell are you doing? You walk into my room and just take the top off of a mold?
That's great. How many different stages of the fat suit for Santa Claus were there?
They ended up getting a lot more out of them than we had planned. There was stage 1, which was Tim, and stage 2 was the horseshoe appliance. Stage 3 was the horseshoe appliance and neck, and it was considerably fatter. And then we could add the ears for a separate stage, and I believe we had a separate forehead also.
Okay.
So we had 3 stages, but I think they stretched it to 4 or 5.
And then the elf ears, I mean, I guess that's more simple, just simple elf ears. Were there any conversations about like how to proportion them to the actor's face or anything like that?
No, we were kind of left alone on that stuff. And it's funny, you know, I learned on that movie, probably not the first time, but learned again on that movie, I'll say, that people have their ideas about what mythical characters are supposed to look like, and they aren't afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
You know, one of the makeup artists on the film said, "Did you make the elf ears so they go straight up and down?" I said, "No, I made them so they sweep back."
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, I think elf ears should go straight up and down." I said, "I think you're wrong." "And who says that elf ears should go straight up and down?" Yeah. "Well, I just think they always look better that way." I said, "I don't agree."
I was like, maybe in like a 2D like picture book, sure.
But we went round and round that. I said, in this movie, the elf ears are going to be swept back.
Yeah.
So they had to do that way.
I will say I am in team sweep back because that is like the natural, like how ears are. Like they are slightly slanted, and they are slightly slanted backwards.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that the elf ears would go back versus having them straight up.
Yeah. It's also another movie where I found out that the wardrobe department traditionally is in the habit of designing makeups, especially for background characters. So we got instructions from the wardrobe department on how the makeup should go for the
background actors,
the elves.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it was the 2 big divisions were elves, elf makeups. I got to do Judy's makeup, not apply it, but did the sculptures for it. Judy was the only elf who had a nose.
Oh, interesting.
She had a little tip on to make her nose kind of turned up.
Would you like to share the story of not listening to Alec Gillis?
Well, I think it's a worthwhile story. There are times, I'll say if I did anything wrong in this story, it was to just not present the situation to Alec.
Yeah.
But Alec was out of town. They were doing makeup tests up there. And Alec called on a Thursday afternoon. I forgot to tell you that part of the equation. Thursday afternoon, just a little bit before quitting time. And he said, well, we got through the test, and the director would like some changes to the stage 2 makeup. Stage 2 was just a horseshoe appliance.
So just like the chin.
Plump him up here.
Yeah.
I said, oh, what do they want? They wanted to have a neck on it like stage 3 has. I went, really? I think it's kind of cool to have the difference between stage 2 and stage 3 be that significant. No, they want a neck on it. I went, all right. And they want to do another makeup test on Tuesday.
As this Thursday afternoon.
I'm backing it up in my head. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
That's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. He said, here's what you need to do. He said, we want to give you as long as you can to sculpt the thing. Sculpt Friday and half a day Saturday on the makeup. Get it done by lunchtime Saturday. Then you can do the first half of the mold right after lunch on Saturday. Clean it up, do the second half of the mold before you go home. They come in, they open the mold, they run foam in it on Sunday, and then you send us the foam run on Monday. I got off the phone with Alec, and Yuri and I sat there, and I went, I don't think we can do that. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, I think we have to mold this in epoxy. Now, I'll do a little quick background of the Santa Claus. On Jurassic Park, we made the molds of the dinosaurs out of epoxy, syntactic epoxy molds, they were called. Somewhere along the line, the decision was made on the Santa Claus to make the prosthetic appliance molds out of that. We've never done prosthetic molds that stands on Jurassic out of the syntactic epoxy, I don't believe. So we tried it on the Santa Claus, and we discovered something. We would put the molds in the oven, 200 degrees for 5 hours, like we always did. Yeah. And we pulled the foam out, and it was It had a slow return. And we went around and around on this for a long time. It's like, I don't get it. These molds are thin enough, and the foam is thin enough in cross section that it should be all cured by the time we're pulling it out of use. So I had the epiphany. I said, maybe it is. And maybe it was a number of hours ago because these molds are so thin.
Yeah.
That what we're getting isn't a slow return from underbaking. It's a slow return from overbaking. So we started cutting chunks of time off of our run times on the molds. And we found that we could run it at 185 degrees for 2.5 hours. And that was plenty. And that meant that we could run the molds multiple times a day because we could also force cool them with fans.
Oh, nice.
And they wouldn't crack or do anything that the stone mold would. That work on that movie provided a frame of reference for people who wanted to make their molds out of epoxy and have a tighter running schedule. I say to Yuri, we've got this great material there that we can make molds out of, and we can run these molds 3 times a day if we have to run them 3 times a day. We can't do that with a stone mold.
Yeah.
We've got to make these molds out of epoxy because stone would kill us down the schedule. We've got more appliances that we have to run out of the number 2 mold than we do out of the number 3 mold. About 3 times as many. I said, so what if we did this? And I mapped out a
new schedule.
Yuri said, okay, let's do that. So we did, or so I thought. I got the mold, the piece done end of the day, Friday. And then we had a mold crew standing by to put the first half of the mold on. And then they were going to come in Sunday and do the second half, or Saturday. Do the second half of the mold, demold it on Sunday and run it. And then Bob's your uncle. I'm asleep Saturday morning, blissfully thinking I didn't have to go on that Sunday or Saturday.
You're like, I can enjoy this weekend.
Sleeping in a little here. And the phone rings, and it's Yuri. And he says, the mold warped right on the part line. There's a seam right here that most of the time had a beard on it, but not always.
Yeah.
So it had to be good. I said, how far did it warp? He said, about 1/8 of an inch. Pulled loose 1/8 of an inch. I went, oh my God. I said, there's no way you can fill that. No. Oh. So I told him to take the mold half off and clean the clay off of that side of the mold. And I would resculpt that half of the makeup, and then they could start over again on it. I believe by lunchtime I had that half of the mold, or half of the appliance resculpted. Yuri molded that half again. Didn't touch it. I think what disrupted it was he took the clay wall off, and that pulled just enough on there that it shifted it.
Before it was like fully cured.
Yeah. So they didn't touch it until it was all cured. Took the mold walls off, did the second half. It was fine on Sunday morning when they demolded it, so they ran it, and the rest is history. So Alec called me up, or Yuri and I up, and he said, great job, fellas. Thanks for the appliances. You got 2 runs out, huh? And yeah, well, it's an epoxy mold. We could do multiple runs in a day. Oh, I thought we weren't going to do epoxy. Well, let me tell you a story, Alec.
But I mean, that saved you in the end because, like you said, stage 2 needed a whole lot more runs later on. Yeah.
And that it impacted everything all the way down the line. And those molds, I think, are still good.
I don't think they're reusing them, though, are they, for the Santa Claus?
No,
what is it, 10 that's come out? I'm kidding.
I resculpted the makeup for Santa Claus 2.
Yeah. Like, again, advice for students or people that are interested in this field. Like, is there anything, do you ever feel bad about turning down work? Like, when if you're already on another project? Or are there certain situations where, like, your prior commitments, you need to go back to like the old project to finish it, like if like they need to do reshoots or something like that, and then have to then tell your new employer, you're like, hey, actually I have to go, I'm contractually obligated to go back. How do you kind of navigate all of that?
Well, fortunately, management in the studios, the makeup effects studios, is aware of what the the old rules used to be like. It's not so much anymore, but when I started in the business, it was known that if you were hired by any company to do a show, you were theirs until they laid you off. You were not, it was severely frowned upon
To like
leave
just jump
in
around.
the middle of a show.
Yeah.
People wouldn't hire you if you had a reputation for doing that because they didn't know if you were going to stay on the whole show or not. And it made it easy because if somebody called, you available? No.
Yeah.
You know?
How do you deal with, maybe not consistently being laid off? I mean, through like the 90s and 2000s and now you've had consistent work, but like, how do you like prepare mentally for that grind of like being hired at a shop? Okay, now the project's done. Okay, bye. And then trying to find a new place of employment.
Fortunately, everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
You know, I had my friend Russell. He was my signal flare.
Yeah.
I'd kind of keep tabs on Rush, and he'd get laid off because he was a mold maker. He got laid off before most other people. And if he wasn't doing molds, he was running foam. And that, again, is the kind of position that you're done before a lot of other people are. So I would just watch where he surfaced.
Yeah.
And I would call over, where he was a week or so before I was done where I was. And I just go, hey, Russ, are they looking for people over there? Yeah, give them a call.
All right.
Or no, they're not, but you can call such and such. They're looking for people. You always seem to know. So that was my lifeline.
Now I can't remember if it was this episode or the last episode where we talked about this industry being very small.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will remember you, good, bad, and ugly, So, and reputations do, get spread fast.
Yeah.
Even here, like I'm not even like in this industry, and like I'll run into people and they're like, "Oh, I heard this about you," and I'm like, "You did?" It's usually something good.
Yeah.
But for the most part. But I'm like, how? Who? What? But it's just kind of how it is. Everyone talks.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And expectations are high with employers and with workmates.
Can you talk about, like, again, for people that want to get into this industry, what they can do, like how they can present themselves to make sure that they are presented well within this industry?
I would say just a couple of things. Don't pretend to be an expert in something you're not, because there are plenty of experts working in this field who will know at the beat of a heart whether you're for real or not. So be authentic and just don't lie about yourself. If you've done something once, don't claim to be an expert. Say, well, I've done that once. Because people will treat you with respect if they know that you're worth that respect. Yeah. And the way to be worth that respect is not to lie to people.
I think there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I don't know that much, because then there's like somewhere to grow, some way to learn. But if they're like, oh, I know everything, and then you're in a situation, you're like, okay, you know everything, please do this now. And then that's when like the panic sets in and you're like, oh no, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Especially if there are like issues and stuff. And like even with this film where you're talking about, with the mold warping, you had to resculpt just one half.
Right.
If someone is like, okay, like not knowing how to like really resculpt in that amount of time when the pressure's on, like you're not going to meet the deadline.
Right. I had a lot of fortuitous sort of, what do I want to call that? Serendipitous events in my life on the way to getting into the makeup business. One of the things was working in the production line art department for a newspaper. And that got me used to working to a deadline, learning how to pace myself so that I determined that my work needed to have a minimum design standard that was acceptable to me. I had to know because of time constraints, what the least was that I could do to generate work that was acceptable to me in that amount of time on a deadline. And that was always my fallback. And it's the same way that the makeup effects business is, the movie business. You know what the work is that needs to be done. You take any shortcuts you can take to keep the quality up, and et cetera, et cetera. So it helped me do all of that. And while I was doing commercial art, I opened my own company, which got me used to costing things and being realistic about that. When I came to LA, I was a guy who had set experience from working on the sets that I worked on in Montana. And the guys who owned the company I did most of my work for, their Western American Films, had all worked in the movie business in LA.
Okay.
So they knew how LA film sets were run. So when I stepped into my first film set here, it was incredibly familiar because I had worked on sets like that in Montana. So I was able to follow the work all the way through.
Nice.
And that helped a lot when it came time to work in labs. And I could have intelligent conversations with the shop owners and the foam runners and everybody else. I interfaced pretty well with most departments because I had learned a lot of that stuff.
I think that's really important because, again, but you do learn that here. Like, you learn how to build things and you learn how to apply things. And we do have a lot of students that only want to work on set. They're like, why do I need to learn how to make it? And I was like, so you can have like an intelligent conversation with the people that are making it. Or if you get a piece on set, that's not, perfect or whatever, do you know like what went into the making of it so you can correct it on set, or even like call back to the shop, whoever's making it, and just be like, hey, like, we're getting pieces like this, but however, it just allows you to have that knowledge to, again, have these conversations just to make sure that everyone is collaborating together in a way that will create the best product.
Right. And as a makeup artist applying the stuff on set, you want to be able to call and have an intelligent conversation with the shop owner, with the foam department, the silicone department, whoever you need to talk to about the way the prosthetic is made, where the edges are, how they blend in and why they don't. And
thank you for talking about the Santa Claus, and again, just providing, I think, just good information for people that are interested in this field. This can be a pretty tough industry, and the more knowledge you have, the better.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn about makeup effects, love that transition.
Why not come to the school where they're actually trained to teach you?
Exactly. Always, follow us on social media, and also come in and take a tour or a virtual tour.
Sign off.
Bye.